Hey everybody, welcome to my video tutorial on how to do slow motion clips in Blender video sequence editor. I'm certainly not the first person to probably describe this, although there does seem to be a little bit of a lack of tutorials on Blender's video sequencer, because Blender is obviously more popular as a a 3D modeling and rendering and animation system. So I think the video editor kind of gets overlooked. I use it quite a bit. I don't consider myself like a super expert at it. I do pretty basic editing, but anyway, I wanted to show how I like to do slow motion clips. And there's a couple different ways, and I've also explained why I stopped doing it one way and started doing it the way I currently do it. So I have some footage here of some AMS2 gameplay that I recorded last week. Got a little overzealous right here, and I put my IndyCar into the wall. Lost at least one wheel there. Good times. All right. So I want to the section of the crash. I've already got it cut. I'm going to assume you already know how to do your cuts as far as using the K key to cut a clip. So I've got this part here. Now, I've never had much luck with stretching audio to make it sound, distorted with the video. So I'm just going to delete that. We're just going to worry about the video. Now, when you stretch video out to make it in slow-mo, you have to make room for it. So I'm just going to move these clips over here out of the way. There's a couple different ways. So I'm going to show you the way I used to do it. And that is, once you highlight the video clip, you're going to hit Control G to turn it into a meta strip, and that allows you to be able to add the speed control. Now, one tip that I did see was after you change it to a meta strip, you want to hit H to hide it. It doesn't hide it from the play or from the sequencer. It hides it from the playback. I don't know if you absolutely have to do that. I've been doing it because the method I saw said to do that, but if you want to try it without hiding it, which actually is in this case it's muting the strip, but I think it works fine if you don't hide it. So I'm not 100% sure what the purpose is. I'm going to do it without hiding it just for this video demo to see if it has any ill effects, but I don't think it will. So anyway, once we change it to a meta strip, you then want to do Shift A to add a speed control. Now you can also add it over here in the menu at the top. Right there it is. Once you add the speed control, now the default control type on the effect strip, if you look over here on the right on the strip tab, right, it's in stretch mode, right? So then we can, the way you can, or really the way you have to edit the speed at this point is to actually grab a hold of the right edge of the clip and drag it out to whatever speed. Now, if you're trying to get, say, like a 50% reduction in the playback, you have to eyeball it, because it doesn't really tell you, at least not that I've been able to see. I don't see anywhere on, like the status bar at the bottom where it tells you a percentage of decrease or increase or decrease. So now you can come down here to the time section. And if let's go ahead and undo that. So we know that the original, of course, it says right here in the bottom of the corner, or yeah, the lower corner, it is, no, I'm sorry, that's not it. I'm not sure what that number is. This right here is the actual number of frames. It's 251 frames, or 4 seconds and 11 frames. So if we know it's 251 frames, you could say, well, double that would be 502 frames. So if we drag this out and watch the frame counter over here, we can see it's at 488, so I can just keep dragging out until I see 502. I mean, you can certainly do it that way. And I used to do it that way, but I found it to be, it's a little cumbersome to try and hit a specific number. So now you could also, I believe, using this method, come down here, hit, click on the duration. So it's 250, it says 251, you can just hit the asterisk for multiply, so times 2 and hit enter. And that would give you a perfect 50%, or I'm sorry, it would perfectly double the length of the playback time on that sequence. So then it should be 50% normal speed. And it is. So that works pretty good. The method that I use now, though, let me undo these changes. Let's see here. Yeah, that's undone. Let me put that back. Okay, so speed control, instead of stretch, I use multiply. And the reason I do that is because I noticed that using the stretch method, when rendering the final video, and if I had a lot of sequences that were in slow motion, Blender renders those slow motion sections very, very slowly. I mean, really slowly. It's pretty annoying, actually. Even a short 15-minute video can take a couple hours or more to render if you haven't plenty of slow motion sections. If you don't have any, or if you don't have a lot of them, or they're relatively short in duration, it's not as bad. But I did see a tip. Someone posted a tip on a Blender forum, I believe, that said if you use the multiply, and then change it here. So I want to do half speed. So I'm going to do 0.5 on the multiply value. Excuse me. I'm going to do 0.5 on the multiply value. And then down here in duration, we do that same trick again. You have to make sure to click on the meta strip itself to get your time up here. And then times 2 like we did before. This method, or this multiply, the multiply feature or the method seems to render more quickly. It's not a massive night and day kind of difference, but it's better. There is some time savings there. I just noticed that my slow-mo sections seem to render out in the final rendering or the final export a bit faster. Again, it's not going to take an hour-long export and cut it down to 15 minutes or 20 minutes, something like that. It's still going to be a while, but I think it renders faster. So that's why I've been using the multiply. Technically, it's an extra step to have to type, the 0.5 value in here if you're doing a half reduction, as opposed to doing the stretch method where you can just jump right down to the time section and do do your math down here. Whoops, in this one. Either way, that's how I do it. And then once, of course, you get it all in place, whoops, and then you put your other clips back, and now you've got your whole sequence. And this is a 60 frame per second video, which does help make your slow-mo sections smoother. One other thing I do want to point out, though, is if you use this method of the multiply, if you try to stretch this out, and this may be a benefit, you may actually like this effect. So I stretched this out longer than longer than the 0.5 or longer than the doubling. So now we're 607 frames. What happens is when you get to the end of where it should have ended, or the length of the video playback, it's going to freeze frame. So that's why, you want to use a more mathematical method rather than trying to eyeball it. But again, on the upside, this may be an effect you want. So maybe something happens at the end of the slow motion sequence that you want to show as a freeze frame for a duration or whatever, to kind of, bring emphasis to that action or whatever, like that. That's not a particularly exciting part of the video, but that's something you can do. So it could be, either a positive or a negative effect by sliding this around. Of course, we can always just put it back to what it was, and that's really about it. The only other tip I might offer, and I recently discovered this myself, and I don't know that I've seen it anywhere in a tutorial. Not saying there isn't a tutorial that doesn't show this, but if you wanted to make changes to the original video strip inside the meta strip, because I want to say that some things don't work very well once you convert it to a metastrip as far as adjustments. But what you can do is you highlight the metastrip and hit tab, and it takes you inside the metastrip, whatever the original video was. And you could even maybe have multiple clips in here. In fact, that's probably a better demonstration. So let's say, let's take this first part, and I'm going to cut this into 3 sections. And let's say then I make that all one, I make that a metastrip. All right, so now I can no longer edit those individual sections, whether it's scale control or what have you. But you can highlight the metastrip and hit tab, and you can go inside and you can see the original 3 clips, right? So if to say like this, the middle one here, I wanted to change the scale momentarily, zoom in, do something like that, you know, and then the next one, it's going to go back to normal. So you wouldn't be able to do that outside here with the metastrip, right? Because it's just one selection. You can't get to the original clips on the surface, but if you hit tab, you can go inside and do that. So now when we watch the metastrip, whoops, accidentally hit tab there. I meant to hit space. Anyway, so that's something that you can do within the metastrip. Again, not really necessarily part of the slow-mo playback tutorial, but just a little something extra I would throw in there just in case that wasn't something you're already aware of. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, or if there's something I didn't answer, and if I have an answer, please ask again in the comments section. Leave a like on the video if you liked it, or dislike if you didn't like it. Subscribe to the channel if you feel up to it. I'll see you guys in the next one. In the meantime, stay safe and be well. Bye.